every single one of them hated the EV that they bought. Love the sector, hate the product. We said, no, electric vehicles need to beat petrol vehicles. They need to be better than an Activa. When we launched in 2018, Ather 450 was the fastest accelerating scooter ever produced in the country. I mean, all scooters, all petrol scooters included. And this was an electric. I am a big believer that you have to market. I think a strategy of, listen, marketing करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है, I think is a mistake in India. We are not a country where you can sell stuff on Twitter to a meaningful audience. Yeah, you can sell stuff to Twitter for like 5 crore people, but two-wheelers are bought by like 30 crore people. But you almost need a washing powder Nirma campaign, right? Like go mainstream. And that's very difficult for a Bangalore startup to like pivot so mass. वो थोड़ा time लगता है.
Mumbai का DNA.
It's not Mumbai, it's this mainstream DNA that's sitting in your ivory towers in Bangalore, Koramangala. It's very difficult to understand कि you have to do a washing powder Nirma boss. आपको जबलपुर में महीने के 70 स्कूटर बेचना है.
This episode is super inspirational because building a hardware startup is the toughest battle you can choose to fight as an entrepreneur in India. And not only when you are building one hardware, what about creating 100 pieces of hardware from scratch to fit together and making sure they all work seamlessly? This is the mother of all challenges. Today I have with me an entrepreneur who has not only taken up that challenge, but has delivered it successfully. I have with me the one who has built the most loved electric scooter from India, a company that did 1800 crores of yearly revenue. We have Tarun Mehta, founder of Ather Energy on the Neon Show. Tarun is just 34 years old, and today we talk about his life building Ather for the last 12 years. I would like to thank our sponsors, Prime Venture Partners, for sponsoring the Neon Show. Hope you like it. Hi, this is Siddharth Aluwalia. Welcome to the Neon Show. Today I have with me Tarun Mehta, founder of Ather Energy. Electric vehicle has taken India by storm. And Ather has taken the electric vehicle industry by storm in India. I would say that. And I would equate you to the Apple in India because I think you are one of the very few brands that believed in creating the end-to-end ecosystem. You own your manufacturing, you own your distribution, you own your, the experience that you provide to the customer. So it becomes very important for a customer that I am interacting with Ather at all touch points. There is no separate distributor, there is no separate service agency at any point, right? And I think that's a big reason that today Ather is at what, 1800 crores of annual revenue.
Yeah, FY23.
FY23, wow. Yeah. This is fantastic. And you guys are what? You launched Ather in 2016.
No. It's been a while. Most people don't know that. We launched Ather in... This is the 10th year. Oh, the product is actually late 2018. So it's about 5 years.
Wow. And in 5 years, so much traction.
Yeah.
Right? And it took good, 6 to 7 years to, right, from the first investment round from Sachin Binny, which happened in 2014.
Yeah.
And before 2 years, Ather was still as a part of the IIT Madras labs, right? Where the story is very popular. That
it's a very garage story. It's as garage as it gets. Building hardware, starting from one of the labs inside a department in the engineering college inside IIT Madras. So what happened for us was, Sarpan and I always used to think about doing something in the energy space.
Yeah.
And we already figured out the name Ather Energy in second year of college. So it's an extremely old passion. The passion is actually electric vehicles came secondary. The passion really was more about the energy industry.
Yeah.
And what we've been always passionate about is how can we make a meaningful contribution towards reducing the cost of energy. And electric vehicles came much later. Actually, after we graduated.
You graduated in what, 2011?
12. Yeah. So graduated and then a year later came back to the exact same lab where we graduated from, convinced the professors to let us hang around in good faith as we kind of figure our way around these batteries and electric vehicles. And a few months later, I became convinced that there's an opportunity and you got a lot of photos and videos from that time because for about 6-9 months, we used to sleep in the department.
Okay.
So every night I would sleep there, wake up, walk out of the campus, take a shower at a friend's place who used to live outside, and then walk back inside the lab. So as garagey story as it can get.
Wow. And, you guys have believed in the philosophy of first you created, or first principles, right? The philosophy. First you created a battery. right?
Hmm.
And you thought that why would OEMs adopt this battery, right? Because the products are not so good.
Huh.
So nobody would notice the battery experience if the end product is not so good.
Correct.
Uh,
Correct.
And then you thought like, let's build the end product, which is an electric two-wheeler.
So yeah, see, I said right at the start that we were more interested in the energy industry. We'd spent 3-4 years at college trying to figure out what can we build in the energy industry, and we'd actually built a bunch of engines, which we'd sort of written off most of our internships and did nothing but did that. So when this idea came, the idea originally was we should build lithium-ion battery packs for electric vehicles. The belief was electric vehicles will be mainstream in the future. And it looked like the customer problem was around charging. The customer problem was the quality of the battery pack. And that resonated really well with us because we're like, boss, battery banate hai. Battery banayenge to we are back to being an energy company. Brilliant. Like the dots have all connected really well. So, and you get to use the name Ather Energy also, which is something we've been calling ourselves since 2009. Time bhi ho gaya. So we originally, when we said we went back to the labs, we were actually just building the battery pack. And we thought we'll be this nameless, faceless B2B supplier to auto companies building high quality battery packs. Then the idea expanded. बोला कि यार देखो battery बना रहे हैं तो we should be a genuine energy company. We should not just build the battery, but you should also refill that fuel. So we should also build charging infrastructure. Then with this idea, we went it and started doing customer trials. We started doing customer clinics, met dozens and like 50, 60, 100 customers. We met over a period of few months. And that's where we realized that we can't do this business. Every customer that we used to meet would love electric. They believed this was the future. They were big supporters, believers, everything. Every single one of them hated the EV that they bought. Loved the sector, hate the product. And after a while, we started asking ourselves, boss, ye log sab itna gali de rahe hai to the electric vehicle that they bought. How exactly? Because initially idea was we will build these battery packs and offer them as a refurbishment. So when their old battery packs die, unko hum upgrade karenge to lithium. And I realized they hate their product so much. Who will spend 40,000-50,000 rupees buying a new battery pack to fix a product they hate in the first place? This was a dead on arrival idea. Then we said, कि OEM को बेचेंगे. So we went to the OEMs and we tried to pitch them. And disaster. We realized OEMs are in two camps. Either they're very smart and they know that हमसे EV नहीं होगा, ठीक है? EV is still like a 10-year-old story, later story. Or they're idiots and they think importing from China is a brilliant strategy. Who needs to buy from India? And like, listen, the OEMs are doing a very bad strategy. We can't sell to them either. So there was a very brief period when we were both scratching our head and said, looks like classical thing has happened. We just went after the wrong market with the technology. Isko band karna padega. And then Swapnil suggested, think both of us are passionate about building a brand. Why were we even thinking of doing this nameless, faceless thing? We should just build a brand, no. We should just build the vehicle. Okay. I was not convinced. I said, you know what, just to sort of test out, we should just build a mock scooter to try and convince the OEMs. कि यार अच्छा scooter बना सकते हैं using our batteries. In the process of building the scooter, we fell in love with the scooter. And then I also became convinced कि बस बना तो फिर proper vehicle brand ही बनाएंगे.
This was which year?
This is 2013.
Almost 1 year after you quit your jobs.
Almost actually 6 months. We left our jobs in Feb 2013. By August, September, we started becoming convinced of this. And by October 2013, we became convinced enough that this should be a company. And we should build an EV brand grounds up. We need to own the full stack. So that's how we landed up. And that's how it began, from the battery and charging, but then everything became.
So EV never took off in India for a long period of time. And it suddenly took off. What are the market dynamics for this?
So EV, actually electric vehicle, this is not the first time it's happening. Electric vehicles had multiple waves in India. The first wave, I think, was back in, 2007, when some brands started importing electric scooters from China. They kept importing. Volumes actually hit a peak of, 1 lakh units per year in 2009 or 10. And then the industry crashed. What happened is a lot of crap vehicles were imported because nobody knew better. And customers bought thinking ki yaar, how bad can it be? It'll be like an Activa, no, but without needing to spend on petrol. बहुत बढ़िया है. And that's when reality hit them. Because Indian consumers are actually quite spoiled. Indian two-wheeler buyers have never experienced a truly bad product until electric vehicles hit them. And electric vehicles were really bad. Like these vehicles will not go over a flyover. And that when that word of mouth started spreading, the EV industry pretty much collapsed. It went from 80 brands to like 15 brands. It went from 1 lakh units per annum to like 15,000 units per annum. Major collapse happened. This 2010, 11, something like that. So when we started in 2013, the industry was doing pretty bad, frankly. When we launched in 2018, I would say that's the second or maybe the third wave of electric vehicles. I believe what Ather launched changed the market dynamic massively. There's a very clear pre and post Ather time. Before us, the market was very clearly very small powered electric vehicles. These were vehicles that would do 25, 30, 40 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
Basically toys there. And the customer profiling is terrible. Like I could never figure out who wants to buy this vehicle. Because the pitch used to be, please save the environment. And you need to be an early adopter to buy this product.
Yeah.
And you need to have money to try an experiment like this. And everybody who had money and was an early adopter also fundamentally wants to be proud about something they buy. No? They don't want to make an apology about it. But these electric vehicles are terrible. Like you go slower than others, your performance is worse, the vehicles look bad, you look like a dog on them. It's just like terrible from every possible perspective. आप कहीं से भी किसी को सीधे मुंह से बोल ही नहीं सकते हो कि यार listen, this is a very proud thing to do. So कोई खरीदता नहीं था. So our view was fairly radical at that point. We said, no, electric vehicles need to beat petrol vehicles. They need to be better than an Activa, like on most parameters that matter to consumers. We were inspired by Tesla. Tesla had launched Model S in 2012 to some ridiculous early success, which surprisingly auto companies in India had not understood. Yeah. We had seen and understood that. So we said, banana to matlab, Tesla strategy makes sense. Launch something seriously leaps ahead of others. When we launched in 2018, Ather 450 was the fastest accelerating scooter ever produced in the country. I mean, all scooters, all petrol scooters included. And this was an electric. It was mind-boggling for everybody. This was the world's first bolted aluminum frame on a scooter in production. This was the first scooter anywhere in the world to deploy a touchscreen dashboard and the first one to have Google Maps. There were so many firsts, that it became the Model S equivalent of some sort. Actually, I say not Model S. This became the Roadster equivalent of some sorts. And so it attracted a different customer. And then for the next 2 years, we did not die. Typically, you expect गलती करी है, आपने इंडिया में महंगा प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च कर दिया है, कोई नहीं खरीदेगा. Next 2 years, we did not die.
What was the cost of the first product?
Terrible. It was minus 300% negative gross margin. Yeah, negative 300% gross margin. That was the cost.
What was the real cost like on road for a consumer?
3-4 lakh rupees. Yeah. Like it was like 3-4 lakh, like really, really high. But it came down super fast. It came down to like 2 in the first year itself. Then it came below 2 and then it kept falling. And now we have positive gross margin. But the first 2 years were difficult, but we did not die. We kept pulling and changing perceptions. And I think our biggest success happened when multiple OEMs started copying us. So the wave 3, which is what we had started was high performance electric scooters. Today, high performance electric scooters, which is 80-90 ka top speed, range of 80-90-100 kilometers, all lithium ion, every scooter with a connectivity, with touchscreen dashboards, this became the market standard. Today, 60-70% of the Indian scooter markets are products like this. So now it's very awkward to call this the high performance category. If 75% of your market is a high performance category, then you have to recognize that this is mainstream now. It's gotten to a point where the Indian scooter market is the most advanced scooter market in the world. Not a single country, not a single two-wheeler market competes with the technology standards of India today.
Not even China.
Kuch nahi, bahut. China, I can't even define number of years because how far behind they are now. Volumes they are ahead, but volumes will catch up in the next 3-4 years. But in terms of just sheer technology and product quality and product, the feature list, I'm not just speaking for Ather. I'm speaking actually for the entire e-scooter market in India. Far ahead. Taiwan, Korea, Japan, China, all of Europe, and nothing in US. Nothing matches up with it.
And who would be the top 5 players in two-wheelers and EV in India?
The top 3 are us, TVS, Ola. After that, it's a slightly longer list, but Bajaj is an important player. Ampere is an important player.
But Ampere imports from China, or used to import from China.
See, early on, everybody imported from China. I think Ampere has a reasonable portfolio now, but it's in the low speed category. Yeah, it's not generally not high speed. That's the only primary difference. Yeah, these are the top 4-5 players.
And in the bike category, is there
Bike is still not prevalent in India. Electric bikes have not been cracked yet. We've ourselves looked at it multiple times. Abhi bike na, I think it'll take time. Scooters are far more successful.
And why is the reason for that? Electric bikes will take more time.
Well, for that you'll have to understand, why do people buy bikes first? Why do you think people buy bikes?
I think part of it is show off, part of it is high performance vehicle that on a two-wheeler. That and the bike persona is either, if you see, right, go back. If people used to buy Hero Splendor.
Yes, they still do, by the way. It's the highest selling two-wheeler in the country, even now.
So I use it for crappy roads, right? That's the best vehicle in India for crappy roads, for village roads, for tier 3 road, right? Bajaj Pulsar became a rage in tier 1 and tier 2. That's my understanding. And then everybody build on top of it, whether they want to build for tier 1 or they want to build for tier 3.
So you said you can fundamentally give 3 reasons. One was performance.
Yeah.
Next was show off. Third was ruggedness.
Yeah.
Right. Now, number 1, number 2, vehicles that are bought for performance or show off are vehicles which have to be better than a scooter at least.
Yeah.
अगर scooter का performance होगा तो फिर point क्या है?
Bike is better than Activa on any day, right? For high performance.
Important question. Splendor is not better than an Activa.
Okay.
Splendor is not better than an Ather at all. Okay. What is better is typically a 180cc bike and beyond. The market of 180cc bikes and beyond in India is, I think, about 6% of the Indian two-wheeler market. And about 10% of the bike market. 90% of the bike market in India is basically Splendor. 80-90%. Now that market is also increasingly buying it less for ruggedness. Ruggedness ka factor tha when the roads were like absolutely shit in India and highways were like not present. It was just all bad village quality roads. Roads have changed radically in India in the last 5-10 years. Tier 1, 2, and especially tier 3. Tier 3 road quality is actually quite phenomenal. Interstate highways is like pretty good now.
I'm talking about inside villages or inside small.
Inside villages is not, again, large enough volume. In the village road quality is also no longer terrible. So what's trying to happen is somebody buying a Splendor still does buy it for the bigger wheels, so better suspension, but that's becoming less and less of a factor. Today, people are buying a Splendor because it's cheaper than an Activa to buy and it has more mileage, which means it's cheaper than an Activa to run. So Splendor is fundamentally linked to purchase capacity.
Yeah.
Aapke paas, if you could afford, you would buy an Activa. If you can't afford the running cost or the upfront cost, then you have to opt for a Splendor. And in my opinion, electric challenges that completely. Electric TCO is way better than a Activa and way better than a Splendor also. Because Splendor also you will spend 2,000 rupees a month. Electric scooter you will spend 300 rupees a month. Comparison nahi hai. I think the real bike market in India long term is the number 1 and number 2 reason, which is the show off and the performance bike. But that's 5-10% of the entire two-wheeler market. I think 90% of the Indian two-wheeler market really has got to be scooters. If you buy a bike in a city, if you buy a Splendor, you're kind of condemning your entire family to not travel.
Yeah.
Right? Because then your wife can't travel on a Splendor. Your 60, 65-year-old parents can't travel on a Splendor. Yeah. If you got a young teenage kid, he or she can't travel on a Splendor. Only you can travel on a Splendor. If you have storage, you're screwed. If you buy one Apple, you don't have space. Right? So buying a bike in India is actually a lot of inconvenience. No storage, really bad ergonomics, but from a foot pegs whatever perspective, and very limited mobility. So the primary reason is cost. And electric breaks that completely. So my belief for the last several years has been electric scooters will decimate the commuter entry motorcycle market in India over the next 10 years. What will be left as motorcycles is the premium and the high performance category, 180, 200cc and beyond, which will be a meaningful chunk, but 10%, maybe 20%. So I think multiple people have sort of concluded the same, which is why they're not attacking bikes very aggressively. Obviously, with the expanding business, all of us will launch bikes. But the reason it's not central to our pitch yet is because of these reasons.
So you sold 1 lakh scooters in FY 22-23, right? Overall in India, if you would have the number or approximate number, how many two-wheelers got sold?
So last year, I think about 6-7 lakh vehicles were sold, electric. Us, Ola, TVS were about, I think, 50% of it. I think we did 1 lakh. I think Ola did 1.5 lakhs, and TVS did again just under a lakh. So about 3.5 lakh between us.
And what would be the non-electric vehicle sold in India?
Oh, huge! Talk about headroom. 1.6 crore last year.
And how much of that would be bike versus scooter?
Roughly 2/3, 1/3. 2/3 is bikes, 1/3 is scooters.
But bike still owns like a 1/3 chunk of it, which still makes
because affordability. If you can't afford a scooter, you have to settle for a bike, commuter.
Yeah.
Electric scooters don't solve. Electric scooters solve that very differently rather. Electric bikes don't change that. So that's the primary reason. So if you build an electric bike, it's got to be a little bit of a performance-y bike. Jiska market hai, it's just that it's not the market that you think it is. If you got to beat a Splendor, you will likely beat it with a scooter and not a bike.
Got it. And Splendor still sells, right? The number one bike.
It is outrageous. It is so wrong. It is unbelievable, the success of that product. 30 years later, it is still the market leader. I think if ever a sector needed disruption, it is the Splendor. I mean, koi disrupt karo usko yaar. Kya matlab? And it's got the best gross margins. Like automotive companies, I think globally would kill themselves for 20-25% gross margin. Splendor, I am sure, has way more gross margin than most premium automotive companies in the world.
Yeah. Splendor starts at 60,000, I think, today.
Yeah, 60-70K. Yeah.
Activa's today is 80-90K.
Yes.
So it's phenomenal, right? And Splendor would sell what? 10-20 lakhs units a year?
What? No.
No?
Splendor sells 35-40 lakhs units a year.
And that number is still growing.
नहीं, वो grow नहीं हो रहा है अब. Growth has stalled now.
Okay.
It's so it will get disrupted now, but the lead has been just phenomenal.
Yeah. Like 4 million units. And in two-wheeler scooters, non-electric, what would be the number one and how many units would it sell?
Two-wheeler, electric or non-electric?
Non-electric.
Non-electric Activa. Every other scooter sold in the country is an Activa. So Indian two-wheeler market is a very unique dynamic. Generally, car markets globally are fairly fragmented. Like if you want to be successful as a car maker in US, you need a wide enough portfolio.
Yeah.
You need like 10 product lines. You need like 10, 12 variants on each. You need a pretty rich portfolio. India mein, the market leader in two-wheelers always gets to 50% plus market share. Splendor, dominating market share, more than 50%. Activa, winner, 55% market share. Pulsar, winner in the commuter sports category, I think more than 50% market share. Royal Enfield, winner in the, I don't know what to call the category, but 350cc category, 90% market share. So India two-wheeler winners never have to settle for scraps. If you're a winner, you will just like 50, 60, 70% market share is a given, which is what creates the really rich margin profile the Indian two-wheeler companies enjoy. Like Indian two-wheeler gross margins, and maybe I'm jinxing them. I hope I don't jinx them. Are one of the richest globally. Not one. I think they are the richest.
20-25%, right?
More. I think close to 30. It's outrageous. Premium luxury products get to those kind of margin structures in automotive, not commuter products.
And globally, cars are less than 10% gross margin business?
15-ish.
15-ish.
Yeah, if you get to 20, you're a Tesla. Tesla got to like, I think, late 20s, and it was like, it's considered an anomaly.
Yeah.
Two-wheelers do that regularly in India.
I think one area where electric vehicles won't make that much revenue is the cost of service and parts.
Right.
So do you bake that into the product?
It's a very interesting dynamic. You're right. On a per unit basis, servicing of an EV will not generate the same revenue as ICE. You don't have an engine oil change. खत्म वहाँ पे आपका कितना revenue खत्म हो गया पता नहीं. Right now we have an interesting dynamic where, because all of us are new players, while per vehicle revenue might be like 1/3 compared to its ICE counterparts, every vehicle has to come back to the dealer for servicing. So typically petrol vehicles में क्या होता है? Only 1/3 of the vehicles come back to the dealer.
Yeah.
2/3 goes to the network, informal network outside. So on a fleet, capture is only 30%.
Yeah.
Electric per unit economics is 1/3, but then fleet captures 100%.
Yeah.
So in effect, it balances out today. But okay, long term, I do think that electric vehicles are not going to make money on servicing. They just can't. And as quality improves for each one of us, that number will drop even further.
Yeah.
I think long term electric vehicles will have to make money on something else. It'll have to make money on most likely upgrades. They'll have to make money on accessories. They'll have to make money on generally technology upgrades.
Yeah.
Battery upgrades, touchscreen dashboard upgrades, software upgrades, those kind of things. So यहाँ पे business model, underlying business model is changing for sure.
And today the price of Ather is between 1.35 to 1.65
5.5, but yeah, it'll rise a little bit now. Yeah.
because of the subsidies getting.
Yeah, so subsidy is getting reduced, so we'll increase prices marginally. We'll try and maintain prices with newer product launches, but yeah, the current products will become more expensive.
Yeah. And how many products SKUs you have right now?
That's just these two. In fact, that's actually one SKU, because what you see as 1.55 is essentially a 20,000 rupee software upgrade sold.
Okay.
So in a sense, our revenue is, I would say about 85% is hardware, 15% is already software.
And what do you charge in software for?
So a lot of features. There are a lot of advanced ride assist features. So for example, you want to turn auto hold on. So it's a pretty nifty feature where if you bring your scooter to a stop and you leave your brakes, your scooter won't roll back and forth. So you could be on a little bit of a slopey surface, the scooter will just stay there. So you don't have to keep your brakes pressed. And the minute you throttle, it'll start going forward. Actually very well implemented. So this algorithm is part of the software pack. There are some advanced regenerative features. There is the entire connectivity suite turns on. So 4G connectivity in the vehicle, Bluetooth connectivity in the vehicle, the ability to take calls, the ability to listen to music, mobile phone tracking, remote service booking, many. So everything with software in it, we kind of bundle in a single pack. In a sense, a little similar to how Tesla does a single software pack of its autonomous features. Obviously, this has nothing to do with autonomy, but everything non-hardware-ish kind of comes in this one package.
So I would say Tesla had a big influence on Ather, right? If we remove Tesla from the picture, let's say Tesla hadn't existed, right? Would Ather be today where it is?
I think our philosophy would have been very similar, because that's how we were wired. Fairly first principles and very strong confidence on the product. But I think if Tesla never existed, some of the supply chains would have been very different globally.
Yeah.
I think electric vehicles owe a lot to the lithium-ion supply chain that Tesla created. Tesla created this entire model of using these small form factor cells and stacking them together to build a battery pack. This was difficult. I think it would have been difficult for most other companies to think through, because it's a giant leap what Tesla took. Tesla basically said that, listen, before Tesla, automotive companies would say Six Sigma, yeah. So आपको बड़ी battery बनानी है, so you'll buy these small modules and you will stick them together. But how many modules? Like 20, 30 modules. You will take 20, 30 modules, connect positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, and then end to end, positive, negative taken out, connect to the motor. Very simplistically put. Even with 20, 30 modules itself, you will be sweating. Because 20, 30 modules में 60 welds out there, Six Sigma पे operate करना है. So you can only have like 3 failures in a million. You're already signing up for like 1 failure for every few thousand vehicles, right? It's already sounding scary. Tesla came and said, you know what? We'll build a battery pack with 6,000 cells, which means something like 24,000 welds per pack. Even if you operate at 6 Sigma, 3 failures in a million or something like that means you are guaranteed a failure in every 40th car. Even if you operate, a failure every 15th car. Means every 15th car में से एक कार में आपका एक वेल्ड फेल होगा, अगर बैटरी पैक में one weld fails, you are doomed, right? Yeah. So even if you operate 6 Sigma, you have no business here. And Tesla took that challenge and cracked it. And I think the world owes a lot to Tesla because of this leap that they were able to make, particularly this leap. In the absence of it, there's no way lithium-ion prices would have become affordable, because it changed the underlying economics of the industry radically. These small form factor cells were very affordable, but the small form factor cells would have never come into automotive. In fact, automotive OEMs kept we embraced it very early because we loved how Tesla thought about these decisions. But most major auto guys kept resisting this until like a few years back. They're like, "Boss, pagal ho kya? Like this will catch fire." but did not catch fire. So I think Tesla's been influential, but not on everything. I think core philosophies, I don't think we would have been very different.
And Tesla open sourced this, right? This technology.
They open source the IP. I think that's more PR. See, IP is truly open source value if what you have is fundamental science, like a chemical compound or like a pharma, some medical compound.
Sure.
Open sourcing design patents. Anyways, companies find a way around them. So nobody needs to use a patent.
They would reverse engineer, right?
Yeah, वो हो ही जाता है. So I think open sourcing the patents was ultimately served more PR purpose than genuine accelerate the industry purpose.
Want to capture the journey from 2018 to till now, right? If you can recall, like how many scooters you would have sold in 2018?
FY 18-19, maybe 1,000 scooters. As
you expected that across how many stores?
One.
Like in the Indiranagar.
Yeah, Indiranagar, sure.
That's the.
I think like 200 a month. Demand was healthy only. We, however, could not produce more than 200 a month because unit economics was terrible. And I could never justify burning money to sell more hardware. Hardware has no lifetime value of the customer. Ek sale hai. Uska customer is out for the next 6-7 years. So that was one challenge. Second also was this was the first time an EV of this caliber was being built in the country. So the underlying quality was very uncertain. Like I didn't want to be in a situation we have sold 10,000 scooters and batteries catch fire across the entire country tomorrow. We can't even like stomp all of them out. So we wanted a fairly controlled pilot for the first couple of years. The idea was Bangalore first year, Chennai by year 2, and then Pan India in year 3. So 2020 was meant to be the Pan India push. 2018 August में start किया था. 2019 August we opened Chennai.
And if you can same recall how many scooters you sold in second year and third year?
So I remember the revenue numbers better. I think first year revenue was probably FY19 was 20-30 crores. Okay. FY19-20 was I think again something like that, only 30-35 crores. FY20-21 was 75 crores. FY21-22 was 410 crores. Wow. And 22-23 was 1800.
So there's a massive jump, right?
Yeah, it's a massive
Between
jump.
75 to 400 and 400 to 1800.
I think a lot of people think that अब तो mature हो गए, 10 साल पुराना कंपनी है. मैंने कहा सर 1 साल ही हुआ है सेल्स को. ठीक है, like 9 साल से खाली R&D रिसर्च कर रहा है. So it's a legacy company now with extremely young sales and business processes. Like forget, even in FY 2023 till August our monthly revenue was like 30-40 crores. Finished the year with like 200 something. Much more than that. I think close to about 260-270. So it's last few quarters have been particularly crazy growth. But see, that's how hardware works. I think what's going to happen now is gradually, I think today most investors don't have a mental model of how hardware makes money, right? And that's because we haven't seen hardware stories play out. So all we know about hardware is बहुत पैसा लगता है, बहुत टाइम लगता है,
बहुत R&D लगता है,
बहुत टाइम लगता है. तब तक तो internet-enabled businesses will scale up so much. The differences that you will start gradually understanding as more and more stories like ourselves play out is that once you build hardware, once you've stabilized your platform, you got a really powerful lead. You got a really powerful moat that internet businesses can never deliver on. Almost never. SaaS maybe. Internet-powered businesses almost never. Think of it. Ather raised 12 million at Series A, 30 million at Series B. Ather's raised roughly like about 300 odd million till now. With the exception of Ola, because its entry was very lateral. That's not a regular startup process.
Ola was a giant when they entered.
Ola was already a very large cap business. It had an ability to bring in a lot of money. So forget about Ola. With the exception of Ola, the next company after Ather has raised 20 million, 30 million.
Which one is it?
I think Ultra Wallet has raised some, followed by I think Simple Energy and some of these startups in the 5, 10, 20 million range. You never see this dynamic play out in the internet business. Internet business, if one startup raises Series B, there are 5 others who are funded with Series A in 6 months. Somebody gets to Series C, 4 others get to Series B after that.
Same happened. Food delivery, Grocery
e-commerce,
shopping.
grocery shopping, quick delivery, quick commerce, everywhere, right? Because all you prove out is that there is market demand.
Yeah.
But the servicing of that demand, आपने कोई moat नहीं build किया होता है, right? It's not like, oh, I'm Amazon, I've built like 30 years worth of understanding of how to build this infrastructure. No, right? Everybody's on the same footing. Hardware, that's not the case. You build, you stabilize, you learn from mistakes, you beat quality metrics, you beat them down, you beat costs down. So by the time you launch, and if you find success, so I would say it's a high risk, high reward strategy. You have to go all in for a long while, but if it works, you will see a sudden explosion of revenue. Like 10 years later, I would argue that there are so many other startups, so many other software businesses, internet-enabled businesses who would probably have the same gross margin or revenue profile as Ather. But their journey would have become maybe 5 years, 6 years before us. So ours, hardware generally is a more spiky success situation. If you're successful, you will certainly skyrocket. But it comes at a time.
And who are the other 3-4 hardware startups from India that you respect?
I think there's a lot of good work happening on the satellite side. A lot of good startups, Hyderabad, some of them, they've done really good work. Along with us, I'm blanking on the name just now, but there's another Tiger-funded hardware startup for e-commerce logistics.
Grey Orange.
Yes. I just forgot the name. It's been a few years. I think Grey Orange had done a lot of really, really credible work back in the day. Obviously, our industry is different, so I haven't tracked them in recent times. There is, I think we are seeing a lot of hardware companies come out of IIT Madras in particular, and many of them are fairly niche topics, but very solid businesses. That's what I'm seeing. There's a lot of good work that's happened on the drone side. A lot of really good drone startups that have come up in the country. Who was a pioneer out of IIT Bombay? Idea Forge.
Yeah.
So there, I think, is a pretty fast expanding hardware ecosystem in the country, and it's no longer an art to do hardware. I think there's an ecosystem of engineering talent coming out now that's kind of seen these systems built out. There have been so many hardware startups that have come out of Ather. There's appliance in cooking. There is Exponent Energy. There is another one in the battery side. I'm blanking on the name right now. There are at least like 7-8 startups that are popped up from Ather. So that ecosystem for hardware is just starting to pop up.
And I think on the consumer side, because most of the names that you said, right, be it Grey or Orange, right, it's on the Idea Forge, they are on the B2B side, right?
Correct.
So they still don't require the marketing, branding, distribution muscle.
Oh, yeah.
They're more like sales. If you build a great product, able to prove the value and know how to sell to enterprises, governments, you'll still make that cut.
So companies like Appliance or on the cooking side, I think there are a fair bit of consumer-focused hardware companies sort of coming together. And they're all trying very different, very interesting models. Very design-heavy, very product-heavy, very, very manufacturing-heavy. I think a very interesting model is starting to emerge. None of them existed when we started 10 years ago.
Being on the consumer side, only you are there and you are the largest. And second would be Ultra Human, which builds rings.
Ultra Human does, pretty cool stuff.
So why is it so hard, right? Because one is VCs don't understand, as you said, right? Why is the second most hardest reason why hardware doesn't sell in India? Is it because people take time to build the value in their minds, like especially consumers, for a new hardware?
No, I don't think that's the case now. I think India has enough demand. I'm a firm believer. Somebody said this from Reliance many years ago. India has never been historically, actually, really, if you think about it, it's not really been a demand constrained market. We've been a supply constrained market. We don't get the good stuff. We get the good stuff at a ridiculous premium in India historically. So I think there has been, just like Japan of the 60s and 70s, I think we have a huge market wanting and willing to buy good high quality products. It's just that there are not enough domestic champions building them at a sensible cost structure in India today. I think if you were to start a consumer focused hardware company today in India, you would find demand actually an easier problem. Distribution actually is an easier problem because we've cracked distribution in India. There's phenomenal leadership that can quickly join you at a moment's notice and scale up your distribution across the country, whether it's FMCG, whether it's EV or anything. I think what we have historically missed out are two things. One is access to capital. I would still say that's a very serious challenge. We were talking about it before, right? Like there are no traditional name VCs on a cap table, right? Like you would imagine, like a Sequoia or an Axel or
No Indian VC is there. No Indian franchise
right?
is there.
Because I think historically it's been very difficult for Indian investors. They've just not been exposed to how hardware makes money. So you need a few champion success stories that, oh yeah, you know what, a hardware company can become worth like $50 billion. Then suddenly capital access will just skyrocket. Agar $150 billion outcome can happen, then we should be pouring in $5 billion into the sector, not like 50 million. तो वो अभी तक पूरा हुआ नहीं. I think it's just in the process of now starting to happen. Second is there's been historically a very serious shortage of engineering and manufacturing engineering talent because India's not done enough core product development. We have amazing number of engineers. We have really good engineers, but unfortunately, either they are pure play software, or if they are working on hardware, they get what I call as the backroom work more often than not. They will get a German automotive company. They will not send their good work to India. What they will send is, hey, listen, we already have this car. We need to indigenize it, right? So make a few changes so it meets Indian compliance, it meets Indian cost requirements, and that's it. But how do you fundamentally come up with that platform? How do you fundamentally think of manufacturing constraints in day one of design? How do you think of the marriage of design and manufacturing constraints coming together? How do you think of supply chain as you're thinking of product specs? Right? You can't just say, oh, I'll just do the textbook machining technique, right? Because there may be not a single supplier in this country who does die casting in that way. So it's very theoretical. What you're thinking is very theoretical. You need experienced manpower who's seen this happen. And I don't think we have a very robust ecosystem of talent on that front.
Or new talent getting created.
Now it is getting created. Ather has about 1,000 engineers today. I think we are obviously creating some of the talent. So will Ola. So will maybe TVS as they build their own EVs. In fact, I think electric vehicles, because of the amount of lead India has, is going to create one of the first waves of genuine platform builders on hardware in India after a very long time. But those two, I think, have been the biggest missing pieces in the past.
And do you think the engineers on the manufacturing side are getting paid as well as on the software side, the top minds? Because if that doesn't happen, like people will still aspire from colleges to become the best software engineers rather than the best hardware engineer. Would still be a passion project. They will follow that route because of passion, like you did.
I don't think so. I think there's still a gap, but the gap has started narrowing a little bit with, again, electric vehicles coming in. Automotive gap has started narrowing because historically, you never needed these mechanical engineers to do new work because platforms ban chuke hai. The scooter that you built today was perfected 30 years ago. So what's the new value add a new mechanical engineer brings to the table? Not much. But the minute you say, listen, I need to build, as an industry, we need to build like 50 different electric scooters. Somebody should come in and do the platform work for the first time. And the person who can do it becomes extremely valuable. So I think in electric vehicles, we're seeing a considerable correction today. There is demand and supply at play still. So I think software still commands a premium, but I think the premium has narrowed. And I think the more businesses that get created, that get funded, those businesses will demand more of this talent. A talent shortage will continue to exist, and their payrolls will continue to shoot up, which is good because that will then be a very useful feedback system back to engineering colleges. Boss, EV companies are paying mechanical engineers like this really sweet salary. Why am I trying to get into McKinsey?
Why would
I'll get a 20 lakh package if I join like a really nice EV company, Obviously, a long cycle. It won't happen like in 1 year. It takes like a decade. I think in the middle of that cycle.
So that's the reason, right? Why are mechanical engineers we have seen shifting into consulting, even from IITs?
Consulting in banks. Because that's demand and supply. Who will pay more? And I think we'll see some of the correction now.
And do you go for a day one in hiring at IITs for these mechanical and manufacturing?
On and off. Not necessarily every year. We went last year. We did not go the year before. We went the year before. We're still not very stable as an organization. How much talent we'll need is still for us unpredictable. So we go on and off.
And how big is the overall team that's fully on payroll?
1,500, 1,600 on payroll, and about another 1,500 contract.
Out of that, 1,000 is engineering.
Product development and testing.
Yeah.
So, okay, I should correct. Not technically engineering, but yeah, product development and testing. Yeah.
And how is, you mentioned you have been able to build a large distribution branding muscle over the last few years, and you yourself don't come from that background, right? Pure engineer, was a product developer at heart. Right? You loved innovating. Can you share that journey? How did this distribution muscle get built over a period of time, and what you did for it?
I think we're still building it. We may have 140 stores, but our ICE competitors have 3,000. So I think there is a long way to go. But yeah, 140 has been extremely educational. Say founders have to learn. I think it's a rare founder who's truly experienced in the industry. So neither were we. We've learned as the years have gone by. And generally, we've realized that it's best to build a muscle in the company yourselves first and fail a little bit at it before you bring in the real leadership and before you bring in the big guns. Every time we have attempted something as a lazy approach, yeah, ye kaun build karega? Let's just hire a solid VP for this and get out of it. Yeah. It's generally not worked. So yeah, we've gotten closely involved with sales. We've always been involved in marketing because we cared of the brand right from day one. When I said at the start, Swapnil was very careful about, hey, listen, we should own the brand. Yeah. That'll be the fun thing. That'll be the good story. So brand we've always been very particular about. So we're involved in marketing right from day one. Sales is something that's only the last year, I would say, that we got involved in. So thinking about its systems, you learn from failures. We opened the last 60 stores, terrible results. So now you get in and then you try to figure out what they do right in the first 60. What can you... we are big believers of processes, by the way. So wherever we can chipcofy process, set up a proper suite SOP, our minds will automatically go there. That's it. It helps learning.
And if you can share, right, what worked for you in marketing and sales, like what initiatives, what cost, some of the processes, so that other hardware startups listening to it can learn.
I'm not sure these are necessarily good feedbacks for other hardware startups particularly. See, our big learnings out of a marketing strategy was go with a very high conviction pitch. Market, I think, sees through it pretty quickly if you are testing something with them. So you got to go with very high conviction because that'll reflect in the product, it'll reflect in the design, it'll reflect in the communication. What works for us is having a very clear and transparent communication. We generally will not sugarcoat or try and confuse you if you got bad news, for example. So very transparent communication. Generally, most people are surprised. So there was a time, 2020, we increased our prices. Our product was 1,15,000. In January 2020, I announced an upgrade to the product and increased the prices to 1,65,000. Obviously, response was not good. So we called an all hands. We called a consumer catch up. We called about 350 people to our office. Did a weekend catch up. And I opened up the P&L in front of them. I opened up the company's P&L. I said, देखो ये P&L है हमारा. This is the cost of goods. Clearly, we're not making money. This is what I long-term believe. First principle, this is how our cost will add up. And this is where I think we'll be able to get to. And I do believe hand on heart that we will have the best cost structure. This product, if I price less than 1,65,000 without subsidies, will not make business case. It worked wonders. We got so many people standing up in that and say, because you guys told us this, we'll now buy the vehicle. And this is amazing. And those guys became champions for us over a period of time. They became the earliest community leads who went out and even today on social media would fight for us. Like if there are a lot of campaigns that run against us, there are a lot of paid campaigns that run against us. Like if somebody will post like something bad about Ather, they'll suddenly will see 100 retweets with like 3 likes. You're obvious what's happening. These guys become the champions. Certainly, kind of cleaning up the mess there. So transparent and honest communication has been one very, very, very big thing for us. And final thing I think best to do it yourselves first. Like while we have dealerships today, the first 3 stores that we set up were all owned and operated by Ather. So it let us perfect the design, the placement, the training, the right down to the uniforms and like what is the story that you're telling of Ather. If you outsource this, just like anything else, then you kind of, this will not become your moat. This will not become a differentiator for you. First brand was important, so we did it first.
And how do you drive sales to, let's say you have 140 locations right now?
Huh.
How do you drive sales to each of those locations? What are you doing for that?
Let me think. What do we do? So there are fairly granular targets, broken down store by store, day by day, at every step of customer interaction, from booking a test ride to doing the test ride to making a booking to making the full payment to taking delivery. All these steps are tracked multiple times a day, and they get discussed at leadership level every week. I think one big learning for me is India needs marketing. So we had this very pure view at one point, probably inspired by Xiaomi and also Tesla, that boss, we should not do marketing. No marketing dollars spent by us. We will only be like this online, community driven, cool thing. And then I realized that's good for some D2C brands. But if you want to do like thousands of crores of automotive revenue in India, how do you drive awareness?
Yeah.
Like your competitors, Hamara Bajaj and Desh Ki Dhadkan Hero.
Yeah.
Like if you say Ather, our early market researchers told us most people did not believe that we are an Indian brand. Like कोई तो imported brand है, पता नहीं कब तक रहेगा. It sounds very European.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that does not bode well for us because they're not sure if we are here for the long stay. So we realized this in 2021. I am a big believer that you have to market. I think a strategy of, listen, marketing करने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है, I think is a mistake in India. We are not a country where you can sell stuff on Twitter to a meaningful audience.
Yeah.
You can sell stuff to Twitter for like 5 crore people, but Tool is about by like 30 crore people. So you should almost consider, which actually even we've not been successful yet at, but you almost need a washing powder Nirma campaign, right? Like go mainstream. And that's very difficult for a Bangalore startup to like pivot so mass. वो थोड़ा time लगता है.
Mumbai का DNA.
It's not Mumbai, it's this mainstream DNA that's sitting in your ivory towers in Bangalore, Koramangala. It's very difficult to understand कि you have to do a washing powder Nirma boss. आपको जबलपुर में महीने के 70 स्कूटर बेचना है. Like how? They don't know you have an amazing community and like you do open house events in like Palace Road, Palace grounds in Bangalore. For them, you're like another automotive company. They've heard of MG, they've heard of Hero, they've heard of Bajaj, they've never heard of Ather. Yeah. How will I buy? So our biggest learning has been, don't shy away from marketing. Marketing is a very important tool. Spend on it. Automotive margins allow us to spend, but yeah, I think you have to spend meaningful quantums.
And if you can share like rough numbers, right? How have your spend in marketing grown over the years, and what is it on?
See, they've dropped dramatically as percentage of revenue.
Sure.
They're not like single digit percentages, but even 5% of 2000 is still 100 crores in marketing. Early years, you will have to spend. Like when you used to do 35 crores of revenue, we are still spending 30 crores in marketing.
On TV?
No, that time we didn't do TV. 30 crores revenue, it's only Bangalore, right? So no TV. Mostly just online. And we used to think online will be enough until we hit scale of late 2021, where we realized, boss, we need TV. Like we want to now sell 5,000-6,000 scooters a month. To give you a comparison, Royal Enfield Bullet. Bullet. It's a famous product. Yeah, we all know about it. It does, I think, 14,000 units a month. Pan India.
Wow.
We do 14,000 today.
Yeah.
So how do you beat a Royal Enfield's brand awareness without spending? You have to, right?
And what channel worked for you?
I love newspapers. I think newspaper awareness is... I know a lot of marketers will tell you, wow, it's such an inefficient media and performance marketing is brilliant. I've had a pretty different view. I love newspapers.
Front page ads.
Nothing works better. Like the amount of footfall they bring in, I kid you not, they pay themselves back over a weekend. Like the best ROI.
So you do that on a Friday then, right?
करते Saturday Sunday को नहीं करते. But yeah, but basically, but they pay off very quickly. Yeah. I think newspaper ads are one of the best spends possible for a brand like ours. I like TV also, but TV needs a minimum threshold. Like you can't do like a 5 crore TV campaign. You need a larger chunk. So if you're going to spend 30-40 crores, then I think TV also works pretty beautifully.
And have you done it? Like
we did it last IPL, not this IPL. We did it previous IPL. We did it. We did it during last festive October. We did also some during this Jan. We don't do it as continuous thing. Nobody does it as a continuous thing. There are spikes when you got a new product introduction. Vagara.
And that immediately drives footfall for you, that the TV campaigns across
TV,
your
I
stores?
don't think TV drives immediate footfalls. I think TV is more salient, more long-term salience. You kind of want to be that brand that हाँ यार मैं TV पे भी देखा है मतलब फिर तो पैसे होंगे इनके पास कुछ तो सोचा होगा ठीक है basically setting up an experience center with a lot of nice marble in it, lot of nice glass on it, turning up in on a IPL team's jersey, doing mainstream TV. None of this drives immediate traffic, but what it does is it gives air cover to the customer that if they buy an Ather, they will not be asked awkward question, ये क्या खरीद लिया आपने ठीक है, they'll like हाँ Ather मुझे पता है ठीक है, their friends will like हाँ मुझे Ather पता है. You need to give your buyer air cover. While buying, they need to feel convinced कि nobody will feel कि मैंने गलती कर दी. हाँ Ather तो सबको पता है ना, so I'm making a good decision, right? So I think all of this advertising is primarily to give them air cover. Product ultimately has to speak for itself.
And in today's market, right, what would your aspiration be, right? Let's say not in EV, but let's say in two-wheeler, would you want to be Bajaj? Would you want to be Hero?
I think the EV market, I think that overall automotive market will change considerably this decade. I think the current frameworks of Royal Enfield, Hero, Bajaj, TVS, they will not operate, frankly. I think it'll be a very different world. I think as a brand, we're not necessarily too hung up on doing the lowest cost product. We think it's difficult to build a very valuable business doing that. Equally, we don't want to do super niche. We don't want to big. So if I were to give polar examples, Hero is super mass market, but obviously with beautiful margins. And Royal Enfield is super niche, but amazingly Apple-like margins. I think the opportunity in India is now to be more mainstream than Royal Enfield, without necessarily trying to do very entry-level products, because our per capita GDP is rising. I think somewhere in the middle is where it will lie. Our true north on the product side will be experiences. We want to deliver pretty amazing experiences. I think the new customer in India is seeking them, which is why they're buying iPhones, which is why they're buying compact SUVs, which is why premiumization of two-wheelers is a pretty massive phenomena. We want to solve that customer's needs, their mind states, solve for them in a big way.
Yeah, I think today what Hero would be 30,000-40,000 crores in yearly revenues.
30, yeah.
And Bajaj would be
30 roughly.
Both of them, both hold the same position, like as number one. And the
market cap, Bajaj is larger. Bajaj is a 1 lakh crore brand, 1.2. Hero is I think 50-60,000 crores, because Bajaj's margins are more richer than Hero's.
Like 4x of their revenues, Bajaj would be today's public market, right? You're saying?
Yes, they are.
And Hero would be 2x.
Yeah.
And I think the car segment would be more poorer in terms of
what 1x is a good luck.
Yeah, so I see, right, in the next few years, Ather would be journey would be 8,000 crores, 16,000 crores, and then this kind of journey over a period of time.
See, I don't know real revenue numbers. I do believe that this decade, two-wheelers will overwhelmingly go electric.
Yeah.
I believe Ather will keep shaping the market. We've been the pioneers. We have shaped the market. Today we are, I believe we are the lion's share of the margin in the industry accrues to Ather. I believe that'll continue through the decade, and it'll imply whatever revenue it'll imply.
And I think Ola Electric is testing the public markets before Ather. They're I think just preparing.
I think there's some announcements of going public in the this year.
This year itself, right? I think by the end of December.
Yeah.
They should go public.
Yeah.
So that'll I think help Ather set like what goes in the mind of a Indian retail market, or the what you can think
I think it'll be good to understand and good to learn the response they get.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think EV is the story of the future.
Yeah.
It is the growth sector. So I think timing issues aside, I think EV brands in general will be the one in demand. If you're an automotive buyer, as a stock buyer, EV is what you've got to put money in.
So Tata has leveraged that very well with Nexon.
Absolutely, yeah. It's opened up such a big valuation for them, and such a considerable lead in the category for them.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Tarun. I want to do an episode 2 and episode 3 with you. But this is it for, your introduction of how you think, how you have built Ather is such a beautiful product and such a great experience, right?
Thank you.
I always, whenever I pass through Indranagar, I always look up to your
And we have 8 showrooms in Bangalore. See more showrooms also.
Is it the Indranagar
Just
favorite
like-
location?
yeah, that remains our often our generally our highest selling store in the country. I do believe that's the highest selling e-two-wheeler store in the country, and it might just be the highest revenue per square feet anything in the country.
Yeah, I think globally you're saying it next to Apple.
We do Indranagar on many months beats Apple global averages quite comfortably. I think on a regular month, I think it also beats. But on a good month, festive months, I think it's like double that of Apple global average.
So I think what you have built is a lot of hardware entrepreneurs will follow your lead, and I think already people are coming out of Ather and building the Ather mafia.
I think we need a lot of hardware companies in the country. I think that's where jobs will get created. I think if you want real scale industry, you need hardware companies. And hardware startups of today will become giants 20 years out.
A lot of work is happening on the battery side, right?
Battery, yeah, there's
Like
work happening on batteries.
Super exponent and a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Battery swapping is there, then battery charging is there.
Yeah.
A lot of infra is getting built. Do you think there's so much demand that for that infra right
Oh yeah,
now?
absolutely. There are 250 million two-wheelers on Indian roads. This number I think will become close to about 400 million by the end of this decade, including exits of old vehicles. Outside of mobile phones, this is the highest other device in the country. So yeah, there's demand. If you're saying there's charging infrastructure, yeah, there's charging infra demand. There's public fast chargers demand. There's going to be a 35 million annual EV two-wheeler battery requirement. I think it's a enormously large industry.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, a pleasure.
Love this podcast with you.
Yeah, glad could come. I'm glad. Thank you for hosting me.